because you were in pain.
You're on the
Hey, good morning, everyone. Today, we're here for a work session. Today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023, and as always, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Bob, can you please take it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. We have two items on open session today. The first of which is a matter surrounding possible change to Chapter 301 cannabis maps. This is something Councilman Kern has been interested in discussing for quite some time. And since you have most of the information, Bob, why don't you take it away?
Well, what I'm going to do is just ask the people from the Business Advisory Committee to come up. I will say this, I was in all the cannabis meetings, and it's my understanding the intent was to drive everything to 58 away from downtown, and the way the code is currently written, it doesn't accomplish that. There is two locations, one of which I got a call from an attorney yesterday, and that landlord has said no. And I think what this board needs to understand is that even if it's allowed on 58, that doesn't mean that the landlord and/or the anchor tenant will deny it. So that further diminishes the opportunity. I think there were some people that had this idea that there'd be a proliferation of cannabis dispensaries all over the place. And I think that's a misnomer and not well thought out. So with that, I'll let you guys,
All right.
you want to just take it one at a time?
Yeah, I just need to, because the public is listening and they just want to know what's going on. It's a little confusing, where we have something in place here at the current time. There was a lot of research done, there were meetings, and then you guys coming in from the advisory committee. And so just educate the public. I fully understand what's going on. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm not saying I do, I don't, but that's still up in the open. But I just need you to inform the public. So you could
First,
just-
introduce yourselves, please, for the public.
Yes,
So
take your time.
I'm Lee Mendelson on the Business Advisory Committee.
And you are?
I am David Felkowski of Omaha and Bridgehampton. I'm an operator in the state's program.
But also,
Cannabis, in the state's cannabis program.
Correct.
but also, Lee, don't you work for Columbia Care?
No, I don't work for Columbia
Do you
Care.
represent any cannabis, anybody with
I
cannabis in the industry?
have a small ownership in a testing laboratory up in Warwick, New York. It's not where I work. It's just something that I've been
Just
involved in.
trying to get full disclosure from
Yeah,
your point.
but it's not Columbia Care. It's nowhere in Riverhead. It's just a testing laboratory is all it is.
Okay.
Morning.
And
I'm
you are?
Mike Israel. I'm the landlord for Columbia Care on East Main Street for the medical dispensary.
And you are in the business advisory?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so we were, just introduce the topic a little bit more comprehensively.
So Riverhead was one of the more progressive towns on all of Long Island by opting into the state's program. One of only, I believe, 3 towns in all of Long Island. There's none in Nassau County, and I believe here you have Brookhaven, Southampton, and Riverhead are the only towns that opted in. And Councilman Rothwell held what was a very good cannabis committee that discussed with a number of stakeholders the regulations that the town wanted to adopt to regulate the dispensaries as well as on-site lounges. And as a result of that committee, the regulations were put forth by the town. The Business Advisory Committee was requested to take a look at this code because there were people who were interested in opening dispensaries but when they tried to map it out, they found that the places where they would be able to open a dispensary were extraordinarily limited. It was basically nothing on 58. There was a spot on Cromer Avenue and in the woods. That was, I don't believe to be, was the intent of the regulations, was to so severely restrict people's ability to open these dispensaries. Further, in reviewing the proposed code, it runs afoul of the new regulations that were in the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, the MRTA. I believe it's section 72, 76, which provides for what the zoning should be, or how far the distances should be from a school or from a place of worship. And ours runs afoul of that by having much too great a space. Now, while it's true that the regulations provide that a town can go ahead and provide for certain zoning places where they can prevent a dispensary from opening. For example, we discussed in the Business Advisory Committee how important it was for the downtown area, DC 1, 2, 3, and 4, as a family-friendly place that we want to attract people, that there should probably be no dispensaries or on-site lounges that would be permitted in 1, 2, 3, or 4. But we have some things in the regulations that are, make it very difficult, if not impossible, for somebody who's interested in opening a business in the town to go ahead and find a place for a dispensary. As an example, we have in the regulation at, I think it's 301-283.22 at, I'm just looking for the site, it's 1,000 feet, it's F. You can't open a retail or on-site consumption establishment within 1,000 feet measured from the nearest property line to the establishment.
Actually, as it's written, it's 2,500.
I'm sorry, 2,500 feet, that's correct. We narrowed that down to 1,000 feet, and that's because at 2,500 feet, you eliminate practically all of 58 from anyone being able to open a dispensary, because if you're measuring property line to property line and going 2,500 feet, you are going to hit one of the centers or something from measuring those distances. So what we've suggested is reducing that from 2,500 to 1,000, and we've also further talked about it really should be measured from what's known as the porch law, which is the way it's set forth in the State Liquor Authority, the SLA regulations, which is where we got a lot of our guidance for this, which would be sort of door to door as opposed to property line to property line. When you measure from property lines, obviously there's a big extension of the size of the property from where the door is located. So if you measure it from door to door, or the porch law as it's called, you will hopefully bring the ability to open dispensaries, around 58 or some other places that you would be prohibited from doing now. I can tell you a lot about the possibility of opening places because he's in daily contact with people and businesses who are looking at these, and Dave is one of the experts in the state about the...
Who's Dave?
I'm sorry.
And you are, what's your last name?
Falkowski, David?
Okay.
Can also tell you about what some of the other towns are doing. One of the things that's in the MRTA that is, right now, is that the distances for churches and schools, church will be 200 feet and schools will be 500 feet. And as soon as that regulation goes into effect per the OCA, if you go beyond those limits, they're gonna consider you really in breach of the law. And
I beg to differ with you. When this regulation came up, the state had indicated over and over again that we couldn't just decide place and location. And we, this board, not myself, because I came from law enforcement and I know the damage that it can do to our youth. I lived it and I picked up those bodies off the street that were hallucinating and jumping off roofs, okay? So that's just, 3 members of the board decided to go with it. That's okay, we respect it. There was a process, the councilman worked on, let me finish, worked on the process, and that's fine. Whatever this board decides, but it was dictated to us, and I spoke to the board after the cannabis regulation was enacted. I knew about it, I had drafts of it, I spoke out against it, then it was enacted, and it was very different. They adopted the alcohol policy in essence, right? Whatever regulations with the alcohol and policy. And so we're not in violation. We were informed, and I spoke to the Office of Cannabis. And they know where I stand and where the town stands. If we have to adjust this regulation, fine, the board can adjust the regulations, and I know that's why you're here. But to say that this town is in violation, I have to disagree with you. And we're gonna, we'll let you finish saying what you have to say. Every legislation can be adopted. Eventually, people knew, and we knew that maybe we have to, but it's got to stay away from DC-1. It has to stay.
we don't
Yeah.
disagree. It should stay not only away from DC-1, but 2, 3, and 4 as well.
Okay, great. Yeah.
It should stay away
You're
from...
trying to
all
change, I
those.
mean, from 1980, you had Nancy Reagan do drug-free school zones, and it's been 1,000 feet always. And I'm a strong advocate and proponent of keeping the drug-free school zones the way they are. And so unless the state of New York is going to mandate us and tell us that we're in violation, you're changing it, I have no interest in any way touching our drug-free school zones. Marijuana is a drug, just like alcohol and other things, and it doesn't belong there. And you, and David, you sat in on our meetings, and you agreed with a lot of these consensus that we did. You were very active a part of it, and you spoke, and you were very informing to us and educating us on a lot of things, and we work with you. And even though you're not a member of the cannabis committee, I allowed you and gave you great options, and right, to participate in speak to you. We asked you questions. You were very interactive during the whole process on the number of meetings that we had. And I kind of feel like this is an attempt to where we're looking at a particular piece of property and we're trying to redefine our laws to accommodate a particular purchase of one particular property and bring somebody into it, as opposed to more of a unilateral.
I would disagree with that, because it's not one person in particular. When you look at the map, which I know was in the package, of where you could actually, based upon the regulations in effect, open a dispensary, you could see how limiting the area is. I mean, it truly is basically...
Because of the residential, mostly because of the residential.
It's not because of your school zones. I
Correct,
agree.
yeah,
I
and
agree.
we're not
Yeah.
proposing changing the school zone, and
Absolutely not. This is something that I would personally be opposed, and I'm sure that the public and every parent, just about every parent, we have a very active CAP program, and they would be also opposed. And I won't go there right now. It's gonna open up big can of worms. Let's just deal where it's gonna go, and definitely not near the schools.
I I think the map that was provided at the public hearing didn't have the residential component, and we were still able to have plenty of what we had because of all the parks downtown and schools and everything else. It was eliminated from DC 1, 2, and 3. Have enough radiuses around there.
Sure, and the MRTA is what I'm saying, is proposing, or it's in the regulations, that the distances be 200 and 500. I didn't say that we should go ahead and make it 500. I'm saying that's what the MRTA says it should be, which is
You're an attorney, I'm not, but I'm very well versed in
which is in
certain laws.
line with the SLA regulations.
Is it regulations or is it guidance? My last understanding of reading these, it was called guidance. So there's a big difference from saying you're in violation or you're in violation of guidance. Well, guidance is to guide you and it doesn't apply to every, yeah.
So the MRTA is a law and statute. So that is the law of the land. So something is stated, as I understand, I'm not an attorney, I'm just an operator. I've been accused of being an attorney. That is the law. There were guidance documents.
State guidance.
Yeah, there was guidance issued to help municipalities, operators.
And it was adopted, just like we adopt
Well,
opinions. So,
There have been a series of guidance documents issued to help clarify the MRTA at times, but most importantly, in the void of adopted regulation. So the MRTA, by law, required the Office of Cannabis Management, Cannabis Control Board, to draft regulations that fill in all of these other little details. Those regulations right now have gone through a comment and a review period by the state, the first round. As I understand it at this time, any day now, those are going to be published in the state registrar as part of the process. It'll be open then for a 45-day review process by the Office of Cannabis Management of the state. The word is that they're not going to make any substantive changes, and those regulations are going to be adopted. They are very eager to begin standing up regular licensing. So as I understand, many of these setbacks are listed in the MRTA. Much of this guidance, so those guidance documents help take excerpts and summaries.
So, and just so that,
where's
so
Sarah?
that
Or
everybody's,
Anne Marie, hold on, we have
Just
our
stepped
own
out.
attorneys that worked on this, and we need them here. We can't just have a conversation back and forth, because Anne Marie has been substantially engaged in this, and she was on the call with me when I called MRTA, and they told us that we can do what we needed to do. And if I need to have another conference with the governor's office
Does it-
and MRTA, then we will.
that's
But
where I'm going, actually,
Isn't it-
because you guys don't disagree that it should be 1,000 feet from the school. Nobody's disputing that.
And the Business Advisory Committee specifically left that in. We didn't want to change that at all. We made some changes, which the proposed changes, which are, I know they were in the package, and the changes that we proposed were not, changing the distance from a school. We agree with that as a committee. We agree with DC.
you can't change, you can make recommendations to the
That-
board,
that's-
yeah.
But as a committee who discussed it, we were in full agreement with that. We agreed DC 1, 2, 3, and 4 should be completely off limits, and for good reason, because we're all in favor as a committee of what the town is doing with the downtown area all the way to the train station. I mean, we're in full support of that, and we agree. What we didn't agree with was 2,500 feet from a residential home to a dispensary measured from property line to property line, because that severely prevented basically any dispensary from being able to open on 58. Notwithstanding that any dispensary would have to have approval from the landlord or the anchor tenant or anything, the other hurdles that they'll have. But by that 2,500 property line to property line number, we've basically taken all of 58 out of the possibility for somebody to come in and try and open a dispensary along 58.
Doesn't eliminate all of 58. I think, quite frankly, BJ's falls with that. I mean, you have a mass shopping center, that could be a cannabis facility that falls within.
Get gas,
No, it can't be.
marijuana,
You
and
can't
get gas,
There's
marijuana,
residential
and get the
right behind it. How
munchies.
does that work?
And
There's
get food.
residential right behind
You
it,
have
to the
these-
lot line.
Exactly,
That's it.
you have
One stop for all.
2,500.
No, we looked at it on the map, we measured it out. and I think
Right,
it was
lot
good.
line to the housing right on Oliver,
BJ's
right
goes
It
behind
has
it.
to do behind you too.
Yeah.
It's not, right?
It's
Directly
it's
on
the
58.
radius,
It's the
so
radius.
it's the
When you
radius.
do
That's what he's
property
talking
line to
about.
property line,
Right,
it's,
because if you
it's
do it behind you,
everywhere.
yes.
Look,
When you do door to door, it's more logical to say, okay, from door to door, and that's why we propose reducing it from, it was 1,000 feet to 200 feet.
From 2,500 to 1,000.
2,500, please don't say 200. You don't want a newborn parent nursing
No,
her
for
child
residential.
and
No,
smelling
for
marijuana,
residential,
because
you
it's
have-
200 feet.
If I could just make a note,
The 2,500
and this comes up, I mean, I have a 9-year-old at home, you know, I mean, I have to answer as a cultivator and a processor. Because of TPI and the two-tier system, I have no stake in retail other than this third party will be able to purchase my products at wholesale and can monetize my site because of the TPI structure. I've been involved in many conversations, wearing many hats through all this process, many different committees on both sides of this.
Where
line.
is our attorneys who worked on this? They're gone. They must have known it was a hot topic.
One issue that does arise, and
Where are they?
I think this may help also, though, in the
Wow.
long-term goals of Riverhead Town. One thing that the state did was they joined cannabis use, like smoking, with tobacco use and vaping. So, you know, when we get into these conversations that have many layers and it can be a little complicated, you know, when we talk about the newborn mothers and being exposed to these things, you know, those things are addressed not by necessarily retail zoning, but those are addressed by your smoking laws. And I just kind of want to point out some of, you know, these consumption things so we don't wind up with conflation, because we may well find middle ground that says, hey, this works, but really we should be regulating consumption so there's thusly not exposure. So in DC 1 through 4, right, you might also want to address your smoking laws, because really that's what's going to more likely reduce exposure to underage youth and parents and people who abstain from cannabis.
That has been
We have
addressed,
done
Ed.
that.
That-
Okay, I just wanted to
yeah,
put
that's
that
good.
out there though, because
Yeah,
that's
but
really
appreciate it.
one of the biggest things.
So do we know how many, so this code has been adopted, do we know how many people have submitted to a dispensary? Do we have any active applications for a dispensary?
There was one that there's,
All right, hold on a second. We need our town attorney, who I recently saw here a few minutes ago, and we need Anne Marie, who's been working on this. Now, you take the two new attorneys that came in and they're sitting here. Now, you and the guys can't represent us, so can I just please ask where our town attorney and Anne Marie Parenti, who spent extensive time working on this with public forums, with the public, with you guys, so we can have a conversation. If not, I'm gonna cancel this particular, discussion and bring it back when they decide that they want to be able to show up. Okay, I'm sorry. We might as well
Very
bang
fair.
this out right now. It's a difficult, complicated, topic. There's different opinions on it, and we can't just elongate this and just like, okay, let's see where we go. And we're back here again. You guys are back here. We need to end this. It's not a pony, it shouldn't be a dog and pony show. I just can't get an answer why, and our town attorney's supposed to be here every work session and every, that's a requirement. And every town board meeting, and I still can't get an answer where they are.
Emery's off today.
Oh.
Eric read his file. He's here, he was here, he's just locating his file.
He's locating a file, okay.
I will go back.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm sorry, guys, I just figured let's
No,
just
there's-
bang this
there's
out. If
rules
not,
of order if you
I'm
need to
sorry, I'm
address
gonna have you come back when people don't take off and people start looking for files, so we're doing a work session. Okay, so. This is legislation also, so it's a law, and we can't just sit up here. As you can see, we all over the place, you guys have, and it's only fair to the public to be, and to you guys, and to have a comprehensive, healthy discussion and resolve this. And we don't constantly have to, it's a hot topic, right? So we don't have to constantly have you guys coming in, so.
I did supervise while we were waiting for the town attorney, but I had reached out at the Business Advisory Committee's request. We had reached out to the Cannabis Committee, and we put it out there that they had introduction. And it was an overwhelming response of, they were firm about, you know, the regulations that they set forth and what they have put in place, and wanted to do more of a wait and see towards the number of applications, of volume, of what would be happening. You know, when initially there are no applications, now I think we are, at this point, one application before the town of Riverhead is the only thing that we have in its early
Are you able to
stages.
say where it is? Do you know where it is?
No. But it's kind of like, you know, there are parcels that are available, and so we have researched that. And so it's not as though we've written legislation to not permit them anywhere. Many of those parcels, I do understand, you know, have current leases, and I think you're gonna find that no matter what you do on Route 58, you know, if something is not built, you know, there's not a lot of vacant buildings up there. And we also have to keep in mind that when you change legislations because you're feeling there's not enough available, what happens when those leases expires in 1 year, 2 years, and then we become a saturated area? So as long as it's available to them, that's up to you, like, you're a landlord, that's up to you to just say, I'm gonna hold and I'm gonna lease to this current, you know, retail shop right now, whether it's clothing or whatever it may be, and then you can decide, well, wait, maybe I'll make more money doing cannabis, and when this lease expires, I won't renew it with this one, and then I'll make it available to others. But the count has to still be part of the available parcels, because just because they're all maybe occupied right now, it still has to be part of the count. Now,
I believe that the MRTA provides that with respect to the dispensaries, the distance between them has to be 2,000 feet, which is a significant, you know, distance between dispensaries. So with respect to suddenly having a shopping center where you have, you know, 6 dispensaries in a row or on-site consumption centers, based upon the act, that's not going to happen. So I don't think that is a true concern.
You see what's going on in Manhattan? People
Those are-
selling out of vans. They closed 25 shops in one night. They were all illegal. It's
they were
just-
all illegal
But that's why,
shops.
yeah, I know.
But-
So hopefully, keeping it out of the district
And-
one.
and-
but Lee, we
before
have
is
to
great.
govern the simple fact that potentially every 2,000 feet, if we did it your way, every 2,000 feet, there could be a dispensary
Not
going
my
all the way
way,
down
it's
the
the
road.
state's way.
So every 2,000 feet on Route 58, Route 58 is maybe it's between 3 and 4 miles long, so that's only 8. We have
Yeah.
the school property, which is the backside of the school. I'm not trying to change it, but it eliminates a good portion of that. It probably eliminates another
And
mile of it.
we have large amounts of students that are traveling every day on a daily basis from those school grounds up to Route 58. And they're going to
Sure,
the stores,
so-
they're going for lunch, they're up there, they're walking those streets, yeah.
So that
So it
takes
should be
out
measured
all
from
of-
the backside
more
of that
than-
school.
More than Harrison West, probably almost to Osborne, and then on the other side, all the way to Ostrander, so you know.
My
it
point is that
limited.
if something is not available now, it's still part of the overall count of what is available and what the potential of it being available in the future is.
The only
If they have
problem-
current leases, they have current leases, but they can change them at any point in the future. It's part of the overall, you know, properties are available.
Ken,
Sorry, Bob.
No, I'm sorry, you know, I can tell you by going through this map with our engineer, there are 2 parcels available, right, currently. One is in the woods on Cromer, the other one, and I just received a call from an attorney who asked where they could do it, right? And I said, I only knew of one, they knew of another one, okay, on 58. They inquired with the landlord said no. So now you have one place in the woods, and, you know, and I know I've sat in on the liaison to this committee, and I know what you guys are asking for. From what I could see from the map, and keeping DC1 all the way up the train station out of it, and keeping the distance at the school, maybe, if you're lucky, provided an anchor tenant or a landlord doesn't turn you down, you might get 3 on 58, possibly.
So if we know what it is at 2,500 feet,
can you extrapolate what it would be at 1,000 feet? How many?
It's about 3 1/3 football fields.
No, I'm just saying how many could be.
How many
You
locations?
can't, no, because you can't, because the state has already said 2,000, right, feet between dispensaries.
No, I'm saying for the
Oh,
change in code here.
Maybe 2, maybe 3, but I'm gonna tell you now, it's up to the landlord and/or the anchor tenant of that strip mall.
But, and
And
if
the
the
landlord's
landlord
financing.
chooses not to rent to this
They're
particular
allowed to.
business, I know, but I'm saying, if they choose not to, that I choose not to lease as a landowner, you have the right to do that, you get to pick who you want in there. So, we keep coming back and then we
No,
loosen the
not-
restrictions a
not
little
at all.
more, or we loosen the restrictions a little more, or we have to hold
The-
to it?
The landlord choosing not to is different than not even being able to approach the landlord. That's the difference. So, what we're suggesting is to, by changing that particular footage and that particular amount, you at least give somebody who wants to, come in and see if they could, a chance to
How
to
many
go to
units
some-
would that add, is what I'm trying to figure out, or if I'm trying to find out. If we changed it from 2,500 to 1,000, how would that impact the number of,
I actually don't know the
There'd
answer
only
to
be
that.
a couple. It wouldn't be a
I mean,
significant.
is the answer in these maps here?
No, you have to, when I sat with Jason and we looked at it all, right,
Okay.
there'd maybe be 2 or 3 opportunities on 58. And that's gonna be it.
But isn't that not even a problem until we have one?
What?
Isn't that not even a problem
Correct.
until we already have one?
Where you gonna have, you have one in the woods right now.
We have one licensed.
No, you have none. You have one opportunity right now out of 2 under the current code.
I think when we
Okay,
did it, there were 37 parcels that are still currently available.
There's 37, where are these 37 parcels?
Yeah, I'll have to get them, but yeah, I think currently, I mean, Alec, do you mind me putting you on the spot, how many you came up with? It was like 37?
Oh, you're asking the press.
Well, no, we actually worked very good, he was very thorough,
37.
but it was in the.
Okay, let's just keep this to the attorney's office and let's just keep this.
No, but it was a very detailed study that we actually went over and he participated in it. And so,
Okay, I know.
But I'm telling you, there's a
Wow.
number of amounts.
That's a new one for me, that's going in my book, but, I pulled you up because we are talking about legislation. Anne Marie took off, we could never have a conversation again in this town without having the town attorney, the deputy town attorney, who, and I know she told me she took off, and I didn't make the connection of,
She was scheduled to be out for well
yeah,
over 6 weeks.
yeah, whatever it is, next time we'll just move we'll move the, discussion to when she's here. Cause right now we need those locations, that map, and we did have it at one time. We don't have the map with those locations, so when we have this
The
again.
map that the cannabis committee
Yes,
worked on?
yeah, are we able to get that for this discussion? I feel like we're so unprepared here, and,
I didn't know about this till 5 o'clock last night,
Yeah.
that you were having this discussion, this was on the agenda,
yeah, well,
so
people take
it's-
things off and put things on constantly, you've
But-
taken it last minute, yeah,
It
so.
would have been nice to have more notice
Yeah,
to
so-
prepare for this.
Well, in all due respect, this was scheduled for about 2 months ago. And
It was.
And what I did was I made sure that Cap got a copy of it, and Ken, you had an opportunity to discuss it with the committee. It was canceled already twice and then put on for today. But, absent of Anne
Yeah,
Marie.
we knew that this was coming for quite a while, at least 3 months, that everybody know, but anyway.
So at any rate, if you're waiting for Anne Marie, then thank you for being here, and then we'll reschedule when Anne Marie can be here.
I just want to make one other point, just
Go ahead.
so you know, is that any landlord or property owner that has financing with a federally chartered bank, it's still illegal federally, so it does limit the pool of, as well, if you look down the street, down Route 58 or any other zone, if most people have mortgages on their properties, so.
So just so I can, just to recap, so you're just asking to move the 2,500 to 1,000? You're not touching DC one, you're not touching downtown?
We're not touching.
Okay,
we
so
don't-
that's
we don't-
not a
we don't-
recommendation, okay.
We don't want to
Great.
touch, we actually
Perfect.
think that DC 1, 2, 3, and 4 should all be prevented from having a on-site lounge or a dispensary, and for good reason, because the Business Advisory Committee as a committee is so fully in support of what's going on downtown, all the way to the train station. We don't want to interfere, nobody wants to interfere with
Right.
that. We're fully behind the town. This was just a situation where we've been approached by people who were interested, and when they looked at a map, and then we looked at it, and Ken, if you say there are 37 spots, I wouldn't mind taking another look at that map and seeing if we can.
That's why we can fulfill this
If we can see where those 37
satisfactory, have
spots
a
are.
healthy discussion.
Because I wasn't aware of 37 locations, and I don't think the committee was aware of there being 37 locations, so. I
Why
wouldn't
can't this
mind
town
looking-
produce it? We went to so much
I-
work and
I
effort.
wouldn't mind looking
There's
at
no
it.
way of producing it?
Ken, what I would suggest
I mean,
is
just
you-
give it to them so next
Yvonne,
time.
you and I will go to sit with Jason. He already has the map.
Yeah,
that
but we
shows.
also, we should be able to provide them with the map. This is work that we completed, and just because we're up here, again,
And then
it's
if
not
there
the
are-
way to hold a meeting.
If there are locations like that.
Can we get the map? I mean, do we have
I
it?
think I have a big copy of that
You know,
map.
we need to give you this.
Because what we'd like to do is be able to share it with people
It's
who.
absolutely,
Who approach the committee.
yeah.
If there was,
Well,
if
you-
there
you
was
should have
37
them.
locations that were all 2,000 feet apart, you'd have 37 applications to the town
Well,
to do
again,
it. So right now,
we
if
can't-
we maybe have one.
we
it just
can't
goes to
operate it, we
show-
don't know where the map, we had hearings and we paid for television. We had people here 3 hours at night. We should be
were-
able to
those
provide, and we
meetings-
have a final map, we should be able to provide it at a reasonable time. So let people look around for it.
Ken didn't close those meetings until everyone had an opportunity to speak.
That's
Those
right, so
meetings-
why isn't this,
Those meetings ran long.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like it's a residential overlay over it.
It does. The green is the residential overlay. We have to, you guys make a suggestion. We spent a lot of time with the town engineer looking at these maps, and there it is.
yeah, a tremendous amount of research and money went into this.
37
And-
parcels, according to Jason's, 37 parcels in the town right now.
Debbie, can you
based on
call
our current-
Jason from an engineer, tell me, forthwith, immediately, we need that map?
No, I mean, well, look, so here's Old Country Road. Green means residential's out. So there's not one parcel all the way until the Armory. That's the first parcel.
But you
Stop.
can't because the park is there.
Then why, but it's listed on here. You're absolutely right. So this is wrong. They have the Armory and the Ford dealer highlighted, and that has to be wrong on, or not helpful on 2 parts. And then he's showing it's allowed on Commerce Drive, but on one side of the street, you're showing that, I just don't know if this is accurate or not. You're saying that you're showing that the mobile home park across from Home Depot on Mill Road, you're not counting that as residential, but across the street for Glenwood Village, you know, the Stark property, you're counting that as residential. So I don't know if this is 100% accurate.
Here's my recommendation, that Ken and I go work with Jason, because when he has another map, I don't have it, when he did the radiuses, the entire thing was pink, except for,
We're
so-
gonna put that
Green
map
means you can't-
online today, so everybody can see it. Hopefully by the time
Is that
we
what
leave.
we have right
I
here,
mean,
the
this-
smallest one?
This is wrong. It's showing that you could do it where Costco is, but Costco backs up to, the property line backs up to the mobile home park, Foxwoods.
All right, it looks like there's still a lot of work to do on this. Are you part of that committee, Ike?
No, I'm on the business advisory. but
I know, but if,
I could gladly go or help anyway.
I think that we need you on that for any other meeting, any subsequent.
I It might be good to have this, and then maybe if we take it out a couple different ways, maybe.
What I'll do
Okay,
is,
so this requires further discussion, more comprehensive discussion. You need to have a map, you need to have a copy. You guys have, this is online, by the way. If you go into our website, this map is online.
Okay.
For today's discussion, you know how to pull that up, right? I-
Of course.
Yeah, so we're gonna put the other map online, also, so that way you have something to work with, and I think that we have to regroup, and this has to be addressed in a more comprehensive manner, and whenever you regroup, I need Anne Marie Presidente, and in her absence, we'll have the town attorney, but we need to have a town legal representation there so you guys can work and produce a product that's, it's gonna be
There
valid.
are indeed 37 parcels.
there is,
We'd like to,
I'll tell you there is.
Right here. Those 37 parcels.
You know what we'll do?
Could I make one simple, just request
You
during the mapping process,
Yeah.
just to make things kind of easier, as much as we have the bubbled out zones that are for different considerations, that we maybe get the inverse, so we kind of know what's in, the nature and the spirit of the MRTA is really to create an equitable program. The card recipients who are the first round of conditional adult use retailers who are looking for these locations, they don't have the resources to.
When did Jason give,
April 11th was the last version.
April 11th, he provided you a copy and you a copy. Can he send a copy,
He's gonna print it right now and bring it to you.
okay, he's gonna print it, and then we're gonna put that online for you guys. This is, there's so many components here, and we have to bring this all together, full circle, and, we'll start the meetings again. That's it.
Well, what I'd say is, in advance of any further discussion, I'd like to know specifically what is being requested to change. And the second thing that I would say is that my office isn't aware of any particular entity that has contacted the town's planning department and been unable to find a location to situate one of these.
So I asked the question in the reverse was, has anyone applied yet for a dispensary?
Not that I'm aware of.
So with respect to the proposed changes, the Business Advisory Committee filed a letter with the proposed changes back in February. I'll make sure that you have a copy, but I know it's within the package for,
Is that in the package for today?
I believe.
Debbie,
Yeah,
is
this is
that
all-
in the package?
301.
Yes.
Okay, that I have.
So-
That's
so
what you were referring to,
Those
yes.
proposed changes are there.
This is all we came to talk about, was the
That's correct.
2,500 to 1,000.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, and there was some other tweaks,
And it's door-to-door residential.
and a lot of it deals with the porch law too.
And I think
Whether you go from
the
property
only thing
line
that
or-
I'm not clear about is how that impacts the number of units. And I'd really like to know that before we got further into the discussion.
And rightfully so, because you
Yeah,
can make
we
it
would as
better.
well.
Yeah.
The other thing is when you, Bob, when you come up, I think Deborah mentioned yesterday, whatever you're changing, you should highlight in yellow, so we don't have to, we understand. So how many changes are you saying are on here?
I have to,
I think there's 4. One is the.
So is there a
This is-
possibility you can provide to the attorney's office and the entire town board, your 4 recommendations, just 1, 2, 3, 4?
It was a
It's just a lot
one-page.
easier for us, and then we can look at the law, and we can, instead of having to read everything and saying, what is it really changing, what's highlighted, that will help us a lot.
We could
And
do
it'll
that,
help
sure.
you, because then when we come in, we can zero in on those 4 items and not have to get into.
we'll
the
make it as
time.
easy as possible.
Yes. You don't have to go like this to raise your hand, it's okay.
I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, I
That's
can
why
see
got
that.
big ears. Is there a way to interactively work with the maps, right? Because there's a lot of moving pieces, and sometimes, again, I'm a farmer, I'm a problem solver, and I work very well visually, as a lot of people do. I don't know, to what capacity you have the ability on a screen or in live time to say, this is exactly what happens, because a 1-minute manipulation digitally could really save 2 or 3 meetings and hours of work to print maps.
And I
choose
agree.
them.
Absolutely, and that's what our engineers do. They would change locations and then we would see the results. And that's-
This is what we did during the cannabis meetings, and Jason was present, and he did all different maps, and he gave 5, 6, 7 different versions, and we all went through them. And So my only concern is what I feel like what is happening here is the Business Advisory Committee is circumnavigating around the Cannabis Committee, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's just my own personal feelings, that if you want to make changes in the regulation, and we sent them letters, you can send them a different letter, but I just think that that's why we have different committees to focus on different things. And you guys were sitting and you were present in there. So, and now we're coming back as a Business Advisory Committee, and we're gonna say, we're gonna make changes to the rules and regulations and not have an open discussion with the Cannabis Forum.
Sometimes what happens is that something in theory doesn't work right in practice. And the Business Advisory Committee is fulfilling its duty to review the legislation that comes from the town board to see how it affects businesses. And that's exactly what we've done pursuant to our mandate. So I appreciate all those meetings because I was a part of them.
We kept a joint meeting with
You advocated to increase the distances from church
I
and
did.
from the schools.
As a matter of fact, and those are not changed in the proposed changes, they're not changed at all. But what I am proposing, or what and I'm sorry, it's not myself, it's what the committee is proposing, is that if we have to take another look at the maps because they don't work from a practical standpoint, then perhaps we do, and if that necessitates a change in the statute so that it does, then we're gonna respectfully suggest to the town board that they consider changing it.
The thing is that it needs to be done more on a sliding scale, and that's the way the Cannabis Committee did it. So like, when you're saying 2,500 feet, well, and there's 37 parcels in town, so if you went down to 2,300 feet, are there 40? And if there's 2,000, are there 50, are there 60? And how does the sliding scale work? And the Cannabis Committee did not write legislation, but it was very interactive, and they made great suggestions, and that's kind of things that we look on,
So one of the things that I think is important is that if, based upon the current legislation, we can identify 37 parcels, and I know that you say that they're there, we had difficulty locating them. It doesn't mean
Well,
that
we're
they're not
gonna
there.
give you that
But
back.
if they are, we'd like to have them identified so that when people approach us, we can suggest to them, those parcels have been identified, you can look on the.
and we gave
on the
that
town's
information
website.
to Bob, and Bob, you disseminated it to the Business Advisory Committee, Jason's work from April.
No, what I did was after they made their suggestions, is I went to Jason and asked him to do the radiuses, and actually most of those were wiped out, except for two, when he did the radiuses. So I think what needs to happen for me.
So there
is
was
I need to-
37 locations?
I need to go back to Jason again,
Right.
okay, and relook at it. But that's what happened. Then I said, well, make me a map, and that's over there, what the Business Advisory Committee is recommending, okay? And then what that did was it opened up 58. I also sat on those Cannabis Committee meetings, and it was my understanding the objective was to push it out to 58, which is.
That's where it belongs.
And that's where it belongs. So, okay, so right now,
Retail?
with the way the current, and these guys brought it up, the way the code is now, you can't do it on 58 except for one location. So I will go back, and Ken, I'm happy to go with you as well, and maybe you should be there too, because you know these properties better than anybody. Sure. And go look at it. It's that simple. I don't want to drag this thing on any further.
Yeah, and it
than
shouldn't
it's
be this committee against this committee.
It's not
Part
like-
of government
It's not like
is
that
being,
at all. It's two different, separate committees.
it's to working together, and when problems and issues is to coming back to the table and adjusting, so we should always be open.
For me,
to
I just need to
adjusting.
know what the impact of the changes that you're recommending are. That's it. That's all I need to know, how many more units that'll involve and where we are right now and how many more that will add. That's all I need to know.
We got that, very good.
Yeah.
And you're right, we need that information, so that's important to us,
And
to make an educated
Because of the
decision.
distance, it's very easy to figure out.
I'm
There's only
sure.
gonna be
I'm sure.
one every
Yeah.
Right.
mile or half a mile, whatever it is, one every 4,000 feet. So you know how long Route 58 is. You're gonna lose it where above the school on 58, all of that's out. It looked like from this map, it looked like everything, because of the residential, everything right now it's turned off all the way to Osborne Avenue. And then the armory's lit up, which is town-owned, so that's not gonna happen. And then there's a park behind the armory, so that shouldn't even be, so that's why I think something's wrong with the map.
Because then when you go lot line to lot line, that's what really wipes everything out. Look, it's not any, it's just somebody sitting on the computer going lot line to lot line, let me see what that looks like, and that's what it looks like, period. It's not,
I mean, I think in the end, you're probably only gonna, the most dispensaries, I can see any happening here is 3, just based on different
That's
ownership
exactly-
entities,
if you're lucky,
how all that
if you're
works. If you're lucky,
yeah.
there's gonna be 3. Right now, there's only one, in my own opinion, from looking at this, there's only one site that's available.
And that's the one in the park?
That's the one on the corner of Cromer Avenue, that has that building that's just sitting there.
Right.
And because once one's there, then nothing else is gonna be on Cromer Avenue, so if there's 37 parcels on Cromer Avenue,
No,
They're
then
gone,
you
you're
go
right.
down to 1.
Even that one from
Okay.
Fairview, I think to their Fairview's behind that, I think that new building you're talking about.
Oh yeah, so that might be the one in
that's
the middle of
wiped out,
Tanger.
Because when you do lot
It's
line
very
to
far
lot
away.
line,
Lot line to lot line makes things very far,
it-
and
it's-
the green
it's like
radius shows you
3
that if you
to
look
3rd
at the map.
football field, so that's out too. Look, it's just, there's no thought in this, it's just, here's the line, it goes from here to here,
Yeah.
here to here, here to there, and print it.
All right, so it appears to me that you're only here on 4 items, and one in particular, the priority is the 2,500 feet versus the 1,000, which we can see. That map has to be adjusted, maybe you guys should have a meeting, a follow-up meeting, and once you guys feel like you're ready to come before the town board again, we can schedule, another work session, but make sure these 2 board members are, you guys are all on the same page, and then we're gonna have the town attorney, and by then, Dave, I think the legislation by then will be in place.
About 60 days,
Yeah.
as soon as it's in the register, 45 days, and regulations are adopted.
Right, so, and then we'll look at the legislation, because that would have been in place, and I think we'll be able, in a better position to make a educated, or a smart decision, to go forward. So we still have a lot of work to do.
That certainly makes sense. And by the way, if there are 37 locations that are there, we'll take it back to the Business Advisory Committee and say there are 37 locations. And that's it, that's the end of it. But we're not so sure, and I think it warrants certainly taking another look at the map, just to be sure.
Just so I can have food for thought, do you know what the other 3 areas are? Do we have, I guess they're on the line.
I don't, we're gonna go back to the committee and see, we may want to, based upon the conversation, and based upon what the map shows, we may want to take another look at it.
Right, to
So,
readjust
so-
your approach?
Yeah,
That
I
makes
think
sense.
I think that makes the most sense
Yeah.
to do.
Okay. So, just make sure Bayrod's question gets answered.
I mean,
Because
I
we all
can't make
wanna
a
know.
decision, without the numbers,
Yeah,
that's all.
I mean, that's gonna be very helpful to us, in the bigger picture to make a determination. And we still haven't heard from Jason?
No, it's not. He said he was printing it, so he can come over as soon as he's
Yeah.
done.
Oh, here he is. Okay. Oh, it's not as big of a map also. So here we go. And Jason, do we have a PDF of that where we can send to these individuals? Debbie, can you get their emails, their names,
Absolutely.
phone numbers, before you leave? So we can get a PDF copy and send it to you electronically. And we'll also put it on, we're also gonna put it on our website.
Jason, how many lots did you come up with?
This one
Yeah,
doesn't
just
have the
speak louder,
37, no
Jason.
overlay.
Jason, when I went over it with you at the time, when we did everything, there was basically nothing left. Yeah, so, and that's, it's not, I don't forget these type of things, it's not a big deal to me, it's just line
So
to
this is
line,
all
you did the
residential here.
colors.
This is
And
residential.
when these guys come
This
back
is
with
residential. So when you
their
go
thing, I'll
1,000
go
feet
back to you
from here,
and do another map.
this wipes out all of that.
Oh, I wanna show.
This is residential.
I wanna show.
This is residential.
I think that you're correct. I think that it requires some further research
Review.
into the maps, and then see, you know, what the significance, will be. I know that, we weren't convinced, certainly, that there were 37 locations. If there are, that's fantastic. If there's not, then I think it warrants a recommendation like the Business Advisory Committee made, but understanding the impact of the,
So I think you have a little bit more of tools that you need to make
Sure.
a better decision. Jason, they can keep that copy, right? So you guys can keep that copy, communicate both sides, and then come back together, and we'll make sure that our town attorney, deputy town attorney, like whenever you schedule it, make sure that she's here, so we can make a better decision on it. So I think we're gonna conclude the session, if you don't mind, guys. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
But at least you
Thanks
got
for coming
somewhere
in.
where you
Thanks,
can make a
Jason.
better decision. Thank you, Jason, for coming up so quickly. Have a good day.
You jumped all the way over from the last meeting.
Debbie,
That's it?
Debbie, can you get Carol for this, the next one? Yeah. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you can just leave, here. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. How many committees are you on, Lee? You just one or two?
Business Advisory,
I thought you could feel.
the IDA,
IDA.
and the quality of life.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you for what you do for our community.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I know.
What a robust
Yes.
resolution.
So, that happens, right? Some days it's...
That we didn't get is the
Okay.
application.
All right, so for our last discussion item, was also at the request of Councilman Kern, and we're gonna discuss, a matter surrounding possible changes to chapter 255, special event application. And I know, Bob, you've been at this, how long? A couple of years?
This started in 2018 under the
18?
previous administration.
Okay, and somehow we still haven't gotten to that, but I think we're almost there.
We had a lot of heavy agendas, so
Yeah, so would you take it from here and introduce the
Sure.
topic today, please?
we're just
Thank you,
waiting
Bob.
for Carol. You know what's not here is the application in the packet. Oh, she's bringing, Carol, do you have copies for all of us of the application?
All right, and introduce
this-
Carol and her purpose
Yesterday.
when she gets a chance.
Yeah, Carol, you and Monique need to come up. I don't know why the application isn't here.
Well, we have the fee schedule, right?
I sent this yesterday to, Carol, do you have the application?
Yeah.
Can, you know what, can I just make
She
copies?
could
I
put it up
did.
there, she could put it on the website after still.
Okay.
Debbie, make copies of that for us and then put it on the website. So
Alright,
there's
so you-
2
yeah.
editions so far that you have to add up there. So Carol, can you give Debbie a copy of it? Oh, you have
I made
copies for us? Perfect.
Oh, you're the best.
Okay. Do you have an extra one so she can
Yeah.
put it up? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Figures the clerk will be all prepared. Good morning, everyone.
Okay. So it doesn't say Southampton on it anymore, right?
No.
That's great. Okay, fantastic. Nobody caught that for years. So Carol, I mean, you're frontline, right? So basically, you're dealing with the people all the time.
Introduce what she does here, so.
Yeah,
for
Carol,
people. She's our clerk,
you work in the clerk's office.
and
you
she is charged
process-
with
Processing
processing
the
the
255
255.
applications.
So she brings a wealth of information here, and she understands. How long you been doing that for, Carol? Quite some time?
Jeez, over 10 years.
Okay, so she brings a wealth of information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember, Carrie, you were the first person that the committee went to weigh in on the application.
Yeah.
So basically, what's been changed here is the time, when you apply for an application, up to X amount of people, the time has been reduced. It was at one point 275 days now. And you've made a good point, out of respect for the fire marshal, it's been reduced to, I think it's now, it was
180 for the mass gathering.
180. So do you guys, give us your take on it.
Do I what?
So, I mean, the changes are simple. This has been changed, once before. There's now a new application graphically, a lot simpler for people to navigate, which will also translate really well when we go to online. People
Yeah.
feel the ability to fill this online. Does somebody want to go through what the changes are? Eric, do you want to do that, or?
Yeah, so most of the changes were already put in and subject to the public hearing last year. After that public hearing, Councilman Kern went back to the Business Advisory Committee, came up with a couple other changes. Primarily, when you're at chapter 255-10, the written permit required for small event gatherings, large gatherings, and special event, large mass gathering. They're taking out the number of people per calendar day and changing that to at any one time. And then the requirements on the filing dates have been relaxed by 30 days, so from 90 to 60 days for a small gathering, from 120 days to 90 days for a large gathering, and then a mass gathering is proposed at 180 days prior. Is that what it is now, Carol? Okay.
Eric,
So
can I
that's
just
staying the
add
same.
to that, we did meet with the fire marshal several times and also with the police chief in weighing in on this code. So everybody's aware and put their changes in.
And these changes still afford the applicant opportunity and the town to research
Yes.
the gatherings and make sure that they're,
Yes, that's why meeting with the police chief and with the fire marshal, that was, we addressed their concerns, to that point.
But can I just add to that?
Sure.
So the police chief is charged with approving the applications, and if,
That's for
Yeah.
parades, assemblies, and block parties.
right. Well, some of these applications, as far as the security and the personnel and all that.
So this
So he has to say, this is not safe, there's a problem here, I need, they're gonna have to pay for access. Chief, did you wanna come up here for a second, be part of this conversation? Because all these applications do go through him?
Yes.
Anyway, so, let's just be inclusive and have everybody.
Yeah, so the applications for parades, assemblies, and block parties go directly to the chief.
Right.
And then all the special event applications, the chief is part of the group that the
board.
application gets sent around to.
Gets sent to the board, and then eventually the chief reviews them, so.
And my staff.
You understand, but you can deny if 255 or
I don't think I could deny it, I could make a recommendation.
recommendation based on, right.
Yeah.
but these changes in the days still afford you plenty of time to review the application.
I guess. I mean, the 180 on a mass gathering, so if you go back to the Fold Festival, and that went a year's planning in advance, or maybe the one out in, we were gonna have at EPCAL, that was a lengthy process to get that in line. So
Right.
if you're talking about a huge mass gathering, 180 days would be a compressed amount of time to do it.
Well, I'm sure if we had something at 30,000, we'd have to, we'd have to say to the applicant, look,
Be here earlier.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But most of what we get falls under this, and for the public to know, we are still more, the times that are in here are at least 30 days longer than any other surrounding town,
Okay,
okay? And that's, and we, the fire marshal's department was low on staff, and total respect for him, he said, look, I need more time, and you got it. So, Eric.
okay.
Right, and And then there was a simplification of what the parking plan submission needs to look like. Revision to clarify that the use of loudspeakers, horns, sound amplification devices have to comply with Chapter 251, which regulates which is our sound code. There's a notice requirement to adjoining property owners if special events proposed to be held in a residential zoning use district. It's pretty much everything else is pretty consistent with what was previously put up for public hearing.
The only thing I'm gonna ask Eric and Carol, the fees, can you just say what the old fees were and what the new fees are?
Yeah, it's a good idea. So we,
Okay. I think that's, Eric, I'm not sure if we did that in the last one or not, so.
I think it's just by resolution,
Yeah, the
correct?
fees are set
I
by
have the schedule
resolution
here.
of the town board and then reflected on the application.
Yes.
fee. So, small gathering is an application fee of $350. Large gathering is, application fee of $650. A large mass gathering is $2,500.
I think we did that.
And if it's really large, more time.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think $2,500 cuts it if you're gonna do a concert or something like where you're gonna have 10,000, 20,000 people coming. On the time that our police department is gonna be involved in planning and overseeing this and what it costs on a basis, I don't think $2,500 cuts it.
This was the numbers.
And
That's my
that's
personal
also
feeling.
in there too, the
Just
cost
what's in there.
basis for the town to implement whatever type of invoicing that they feel necessary for a special event permit at the recommendation of, PD and the fire marshal's office. And there's also something in the 255 that says that the town or any other agency may request more information if they feel it's necessary, along with the application.
But does it change the fee?
It does not change the fee, but if there's an additional cost to the town for
This is
increased
2019.
police services or fire marshals,
This is the
things
old
of that
so it's
nature,
really the
it-
same,
it says in there that
except
they,
for the-
you
Is that
guys
the
are
end right
charged
here?
for
Cost
that.
reimbursement?
Yeah, that's for like if we have police on scene and
nonprofit
other
was
things, but the
150,
time,
350,
if
and
somebody
now it's just
suggests and puts in an application for a concert,
So it's.
it's gonna have 20,000
They
people
execute
come.
this.
You're talking about weeks and weeks of work, a month of the time that we have our lieutenants and our police department essentially reviewing this. And I think it's straightforward. You figure out what we're paying our lieutenants per hour and how many hours are involved in this, and that should be what the cost of the application is.
Well, the application is just to process the application. If the PD needs to be there, et cetera,
I'm not
et
talking about
cetera.
I'm not talking about the day of the event. I'm talking about how long it takes and how many weeks do we assign the lieutenant in our police department to review this process and what we're paying them at the cost of it for an event that may or may not even take place.
So what we need to your point, Ken, I think it's a good one. But probably what we need to add in here, if it's over 5,000 people, we need to put a catch-all language that the fees will be determined based on what the event is. We do that, Eric?
Well, I think the better way to do it is to have a base fee, right? And then just have some kind of notification or language that says, based on the number of people, there'll be a separate assessment as to how many town employee working hours go into reviewing plans, going to the site, doing inspections, that sort of thing. And then they'll get invoiced for that.
Can you add that in 3?
Yeah, I can come up with
Okay.
How long do you
I think
feel
Ken,
it
does that work?
takes you to
Yeah, you know what I'm
process
saying,
that?
all of a sudden we're gonna
I
have,
completely
Woodstock 3
agree.
here in the farmland, and it's gonna,
Already.
you're
Too
gonna
much
have,
marijuana.
I agree, totally
you're
agree.
gonna
I think
have
it's a good idea.
police spending weeks doing it, it's time consuming. And so when
Totally
they're reviewing this, they're being taken away from other daily
Yep.
activities.
Agreed, 100%.
I'm sorry.
So,
Okay.
anything else?
That's it. I think that's it.
That's it, correct? Guys, you good?
So can I just ask, does this go back to another public hearing? Is that what you have to repost it for all the changes?
This will need to go back to another public hearing.
So you'll put that language in for the public hearing?
Well, Carol just pointed out that there is a provision under the section entitled Conditions for Granting Permit, which deals with cost reimbursement. That could be more neatly tailored to
Yeah, it's
what
a
we're
catch-all
talking about
for
here.
any cost, so you
Okay.
do want, just reword it a little bit more.
Right.
It's a catch-all for any, excessive costs based on size and time and dates or whatever, so that makes
Yeah,
sense.
what I would say is, in the resolutions approving the special event applications, we'd want to point to that provision specifically if we intend to invoice them for reimbursement.
Right, and that's a good idea, just have it as part of the legislation, so can we move forward to public hearing on this? I think it's good, finally going to public hearing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I want to really thank Chief. I know we've had several meetings. I wanted to thank Craig, who's not here.
Moniqua's always been
Monique,
involved, yeah.
done a phenomenal job. Carol, you were from the beginning, and thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
done a
And the
great job.
chicken kids don't have to worry, this is where this all started, I think.
Yes.
Remember that? That was atrocious what happened
Part
there.
of it.
It worked out.
Don't forget that.
That was one of the most horrific things I was watching it from the sidelines.
I think that back then it was 120 days for the chicken kids to
Yeah,
fly.
so they don't have much to
Crazy,
worry,
right?
it's been going well. Anyway, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Have a good day. All right, Bob, you're
Yes.
getting there. Finally.
No, they're getting there. I mean, I think it's important,
Finally.
because we have
I think
towns
we're
that
gonna
are
go now,
coming
anything
and,
else,
you know,
any other matters, we're gonna move on to the resolutions, and we have Debbie Dabrowski here to read out the resolutions for today. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning. You guys hear me?
No.
A little louder, bring up the mic.
I don't think, oh, there we go.
A lot
Okay,
better.
great.
Yeah.
So, good morning, everybody. Resolution 1 appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. 2 appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. 3 appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. 4 appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. 5 appoints a call-in recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. 6 appoints seasonal staff to the Recreation Department. 7
Frank, tell the chief not to leave, please.
7 appoints a call-in assistant recreation leader. 8 adopts a special event Chapter 255 application for Halleckville Museum Farm County Country Fair. 9 authorizes the supervisor to execute an Eighth Amendment agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging for the purpose of supplementing the town's nutrition program for the elderly. Number 10, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with Family Service League regarding the Employee Assistant Program. 11, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's shopping assistant program for the elderly. 12, grant special permit for 644 Roanoke Avenue, addition 644 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-126-4-3. 13, approves fireworks application for Riverhead Raceway, August 5th, 2023. 14, approves firework application for Riverhead Raceway, July 1, 2023. 15, authorizes designated alcohol service vendors to serve alcohol at the Alive on 25 Street Festival. Number 16, rescinds Resolution 2023-291, adopted on April 18, 2023, and ratifies offer of support to the New York State Legislature to amend the real property tax in relation to the Jamesport Fire District application for an exemption for real property taxes. Senate Bill Number S.2500, A, Assembly Bill Number A.33166A, Number 17, acceptance of bulletproof vest grant. 18, ratifies settlement of legal action against the owners, tenants, and occupants of premise located at 734 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead, New York. Number 19, to ratify a highway fund budget transfer. Number 20, ratifies authorization for highway superintendent to execute equipment rental equipment with Malvise Equipment. Number 21, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for disposal of town-generated construction and demolition material. Number 22, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for scavenger waste treatment plant odor control improvements. 23, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for additional 2023 concessions vendors, town parks and beaches. Number 24, 2023-2024 EWR Road Resurfacing Grant Budget and Projects, number 52111 and number 52213 closure. Number 25, awards bid for rebid defreezed pump station control panel replacement. Number 26, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post bid for Ford Auto Parts. Number 27, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post bid for truck parts. Number 28, ratifies the appointment of a homemaker. Number 29, pave our potholes, POP, 2023-2024 road resurfacing grant, budget and project, number 52214, budget adjustment. Number 30, pave New York, 2023-2024 road resurfacing grant budget and projects, number 52110 and number 52212 closure. 31, CHIPS, 2023-2024 road resurfacing grant budget and projects, number 52109 and number 52211 closure. Number 32, Water District Capital Project, number 82316, 15 Bay Avenue budget adoption. Number 33, amends resolution number 2022-727, race track, not street, summer series, rain date times. Number 34, ratifies authorization for designated alcohol service vendors to serve alcohol at the Reflections Art in the Park experience in the Milton L. Burns Park, Grangebell Park, Peconic Avenue, Riverhead, New York. Number 35, ratifies authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with the Riverhead Business Improvement District Management Association, Inc., regarding 2023 calendar year events. Number 36, accepts the retirement of a public safety dispatcher. Number 37, terminates a part-time homemaker. Number 38, amends the resignation of an automotive equipment operator. Number 39, amends the appointment of a seasonal water treatment plant operator, 2B. Number 40, sewer department budget transfer. Number 41, extends bid for corrosion control chemical PO4. Number 42, approve special event Chapter 255 application for New York Marine Rescue Center's 26th annual 5K run for the Ridley. Number 43, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post bid for auto parts. Number 44, accepts the retirement of a building permits examiner. Number 45, awards bid for 2023 concession vendors, town parks and beaches. Number 46, appoints a part-time traffic control specialist to the police department. Number 47, approves Watrell Brothers, Inc. as drain layer for Riverhead Sewer District. Number 48, authorizes the submission of a youth mentoring grant. Number 49, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post a notice to bidders for renovation modification of certain portions within Town Hall at 4 West 2nd Street. Number 50, authorize supervisor to execute a license agreement without exception films. Number 51, terminates an unpaid LOA and ratifies the reappointment to active duty status. Number 52, ratifies the appointment of an account clerk. Number 53, authorizes town clerk to publish and post a public notice to authorize the Town of Riverhead Water District, RWD, to transfer property owned by the RWD and not needed for RWD purposes or operations described as Suffolk County Tax Map number 0600-108-2-1 to the Town of Riverhead, TOR, and authorize the Town of Riverhead to transfer a portion of property owned by the Town of Riverhead and not needed for Town of Riverhead or Town of Riverhead Highway Department purposes or operations described as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-76-1-13, subject to a public hearing required by Town Law 198 and permissive referendum pursuant to Town Law 64 in parentheses 2 and Town Law 208 A and B. Number 54, amends resolution number 2023-137. 55, appoints automotive equipment operator. Number 56, adopts a local law amending Chapter 289-17 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Parking Time Limited. That ends the resolutions for today.
Great, thank you, Debbie. Good job. Okay. Anything else on the board? Fine? Good? Okay, so in a minute, I'm going to ask you to go into executive session. I'm going to ask for a first and a second to discuss the following items, and we have a lengthy executive session today. The first subject is on contractual. That's Alyssa Suckerman Esquire, matter surrounding contractual agreement between the Town of Riverhead and the CSEA. That's going to be followed by matters surrounding contractual agreement with Captain Richard Smith, and that will be with Chief Hegemuller. And that's going to be followed by matters surrounding license agreement between the Town of Riverhead and Mark Lamania, and that'll be Thomas, Howard, and Hurley. And that's that ends that topic, contractual, and then we're going to move on to personnel. We're going to discuss matters surrounding possible stipend for an employee, which is Thomas Howard. And I'll add at the end.
Okay.
Then also on the personnel matters surrounding change in status of employees, which is Mancini, Strickland, and Teo. And that's going to be followed by matters surrounding a grievance between Strickland and Teo, Strickland-Teo. And then we're going to also add one more that came in late to contractual, which is matters surrounding possible agreement between the Town of Riverhead and Carmella and Dominic Serrano. And that's our executive session. Can I have a first and a second, please, to go into
So moved.
executive session? Can I have a second, please?
Second?
Okay, great. All in favor? All opposed? So moved. Everyone, please be safe. It's wonderful out there. Spring is definitely sprung, and please be safe. Thank you.